1 year ago, 4 students at the University of Idaho were murdered. Fear, panic, and confusion surrounded Moscow. Tonight on Murrow News 8, we want to clear up some of that confusion and tell some of the stories of Ethan, Madison, Kaylee, and Xana. Thanks, Ethan. It really is such a beautiful day out here on the Palouse. This program is a lot more simple than the program before COVID, where you had to pay $5 to get your first box. Even as I talked to students here on campus, they had either admitted they had never heard of Ya-Ya Nicky's or at least had never tried it while here on campus. Once that appeal is received, the appeals committee can either choose to take that ticket in half the price or waive it altogether. The worry for many Coug fans over the future of Cougar football and who they will be playing in 2024 has partially been answered. The USDA gave a $75,000 grant to pay for improvements behind downtown Pullman businesses. The Moscow Police Department is looking for the person who slashed tires on over 20 vehicles last Tuesday night. Now, if you're planning on traveling to the west side for a Christmas break, let's look at the Snoqualmie past 5-day forecast so you can kind of plan on when it's safe to travel. As you can see, it is rain and snow mix all throughout the weekend. Low temperatures, see 32 to 30, 38, 34, all very cold, which means that even if it's going to rain, it'll definitely freeze once it hits that pavement. When it comes to criminal cases, it isn't easy as arrest, charge, and trial. There are many steps taken before a case can officially go to trial.
If a person's in custody, the prosecutor is supposed to bring the case to trial within 60 days. That rarely ever happens. What happens is the defendant waives their speedy trial right because it's just not possible to get a case together in that short period of time, let alone a big case like Koberger's case. There's a tremendous amount of discovery that has to take place first. In the meantime, there's all kinds of motions that need to be filed for motions in limine to keep information out, specifically to keep some evidence from being presented to the jury because it may be prejudicial.
In the case of Brian Koberger, information about where in the discovery process the two sides are is almost impossible to find. A gag order from Judge John Judge has limited all parties from saying anything about the case.
Well, gag orders have to be pretty specific because of the First Amendment. People have a right to express themselves. But the court tries to specifically set out rules about what defendants cannot talk about or what the prosecutor can't talk about.
And it isn't just Latah County prosecutors and Koberger's defense team either. Whitman County prosecutor, Moscow, Pullman, and WSU police, even the mayor of Moscow have all cited the gag order as reason not to talk to reporters or the public.
There's no penalty for not talking to the press. There's only penalties if you talk to the press and it was covered by the gag order.
Another pretrial discussion is the ability to move the trial to a new location.
Pretty rare that happens, and I don't see it happening in this case, but they move these things because they've been sensationalized to a point where they can't get a fair jury pool. So they move them to other jurisdictions to try to get people who haven't been following the case. I think it's going to be pretty tough in Idaho to find somebody who hasn't been following the case. It's been pretty spectacular. All of the newspapers there's an article about it every single day in the papers, and I read them. I'm sure everybody else is reading them as well.
With the FBI going back to the house a couple weeks ago looking for more evidence, it is clear that more discovery needs to happen before the case can go to trial.
They're going to have, they being the FBI, is going to have to look over all that information, come to some conclusions, and they're going to send it to the state. Then the state has to send it to the defense. Then the defense has to sit down with their experts and go over it. And so that in and of itself is going to take months. Another year, certainly it could be 2 years.
I thought, well, if it's working at Ohio State University, I'm going to go out on a limb and say it's going to work here in Pullman at WSU.
That was when Dan Ahern, general manager for Northside Cafe, knew he wanted to make a change. Last year, Northside Cafe spent $10,000 on disposable to-go boxes. Dan decided enough was enough and worked with Topanga to put on a new reusable to-go box system.
Over the summer, really, I kind of had made a choice that we were going to go for it and work through the summer to get everything prepared so we could launch at the beginning of this fall semester.
This program is a lot more simple than the program before COVID, where you had to pay $5 to get your first box, whereas this one's free. Students simply have to sign in to Reuse, get their digital Reuse pass, and scan it every time they check out a container. When they're done, they just turn them in at tray return or in this bin outside of Northside.
It's really like a library and a library card and you checking out a book.
Reaction to the program has been overwhelmingly positive.
People are happy to participate, see the good in it, the benefit, not just to them, I think to the future.
Dan is hopeful that the program will continue to grow and make changes here at WSU.
I think it'll only grow and get better, and we will become more sustainable.
This is Maggie Tolleson, Murrow News 8.